You are listening to the Cycling Podcast in association with Rapha, celebrating the sport and producing the finest cycling clothing since 2004. Today, we're in Revel.
Hello, my name's Richard Moore. I'm with Lionel Birnie.
Hello, Richard.
And we're joined once again by François Thomazeau.
Hi there.
And you are working for Le Figaro
at
this Tour de France, François. And you were a very popular guest last week. Seems like a long time ago. Is that Cherbourg?
Was it?
It was, yeah.
It probably was, yeah.
Cherbourg,
we were by a race course, yeah.
People were quite taken, I think, with your no-nonsense analysis of things, in particular, a particular catchphrase, which sounds much better from an urbane Frenchman than from a...
You mean this is bullshit? Yeah.
That's the one. Brilliant.
I have to say, it's very appropriate we have François back on now that the race has returned to France. And François' catchphrase was running through my mind almost constantly on a loop while we were in Andorra. I didn't take to the place at all.
We just shortened it now, haven't we? We've lost the "this is,"
Yeah,
and that's
we
pretty
have.
much. We're channeling François. We were channeling François a lot. Where are we, Lionel?
We're in Revel in France, in the Haute-Garonne, just up from the Pyrenees. I was expecting
Revel.
it, yes.
Autumnal. It feels autumnal, doesn't it? What's going on? What's happened to your weather, François?
I have no idea. It's been lost somewhere in the Brexit, probably. And I don't know. Maybe
This has nothing to do with Brexit. I'm sorry. It's British weather.
Oh dear, yeah. Well, I'll take bad weather here than good weather in Andorra. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, if this weather persists, we don't know if it will or not, could have an effect on the race. It certainly suits Adam Yates, this sort of weather. It doesn't suit Chris Froome, who loves the heat, actually.
Apparently, what's forecast for the next couple of days is wind. And you know that on the road to Montpellier, there's always been problems. You're not too far from the sea. And, maybe we could have echelons, because tomorrow everybody's saying this is going to be a bunch sprint. It might not be if there's an echelon, and if really tramontane, that's what it's called, the wind in the area blows really heavily, we could have surprises tomorrow, and even more on the Ventoux in 2 days' time.
The Camargue is always a famous area for crosswinds, isn't it?
It is.
So down this part of the world we have seen crosswinds wreak havoc in the past. We should have the tale of today's attack before we start looking ahead to the coming days, Lionel.
Okay, let's stage 10, Escaldes-Egordany in Andorra to Revel, 196 kilometres with the Col d'Envalira, the highest climb of the race, right at the very start. So it was a very fast start, very aggressive start, and a powerful break of 15 went clear. It was sparked by Peter Sagan and a few others, and it included a host of former stage winners and yellow jersey wearers and a former Tour winner. So Edvald Boasson Hagen was in there, Tony Galopin, Steve Cummings, Rui Costa, Greg Van Avermaet, Sylvain Chavanel and Vincenzo Nibali. But what turned out to be most significant was that there were 3 Orica-Bike Exchange riders in there too. Luke Durbridge, Daryl Impey and the eventual stage winner Michael Matthews. Anyway, they had a big gap and it was still 4 minutes 41 with 40k to go. With 25k to go, the group split into 3 and all 3 Orica riders made it in the front with Sagan, Van Avermaet, Boasson Hagen and Samuel Dumoulin, not Tom Dumoulin. Richard, I saw your very amusing tweet about potentially Dumoulin winning 2 in a row.
It was supposed to be amusing, just for the record.
Yeah, it doesn't work so well on Twitter, does it? But
they look so alike, don't they, Samuel Dumoulin, Tom Dumoulin?
They do. There's about a 1.5 height difference.
That's it,
and
at least.
Yeah, you can put one Sam Dumoulin in and 2 Sam Dumoulin in one Tom Dumoulin. Yes, it's like a leg of Tom.
I'd like to see Tom Dumoulin's. I'd like to see Tom Dumoulin riding Samuel Dumoulin's bike, knees round by his ears.
I'd like to see them do a 2-up time trial. That would be entertaining, wouldn't it? Anyway, what followed was a pretty well executed plan by Orica. Luke Durbridge set it up by working hard before and then on the climb of San Ferreol, with about 8 kilometres to go. Edvald Boasson Hagen tried something with 5 to go, but that was shut down. And then Daryl Impey attacked, which had the effect of drawing Sagan to the front of the group, and that was probably significant because Sagan was then exactly where Matthews wanted him. Matthews sat on Sagan's wheel all the way to the finish. Impey even had some strength to do a lead out, and Matthews won what was a bit of a messy, elbows out, free-for-all sprint, but win it he did. Orica's first Tour stage win since 2013 when they won the team time trial in Nice. Overall, no major changes. Froome still in yellow, the polka dot jersey still with Thibaut Pinot, Adam Yates still in white, And Peter Sagan is definitely now in green. A couple of days ago.
Yeah, I thought he took it a couple of days ago.
Yeah,
Lionel.
if you were listening to the cycling
he
podcast,
said that when I was standing next to you.
Yeah, and you leapt in and corrected me, didn't you? With sort of digging me out of the hole that I was digging. Just to explain,
I enjoy you making mistakes.
Yeah,
Why would I correct you?
We had a shocker on the day to Andorra. The weather was bad and the Wi-Fi didn't work, and my mental arithmetic was obviously terrible. I thought Sagan had taken the green jersey with the intermediate sprint win. He hadn't. Mark Cavendish still had it, but today he very definitely has. Sagan took 45 points and now leads Cavendish by 38. That could be wrong, but I think that's what I added up.
So the numerical advantage really did give Orica the edge, the green edge.
Oh, very good, very good.
It was good. I mean, it was what we call a transitional stage, wasn't it? I'm not sure about Lionel's description of it being fast racing from the off, because it was straight uphill, and driving out of Andorra we saw a lot of riders riding a significant way up the climb to warm up. We saw riders warming up in their hotel lobbies as well on turbo trainers. It's always difficult after a rest day. The rhythm is broken, and some riders really struggle the day after a rest day, and with the stage being not exactly easy but also a tricky one in which to mount any kind of attack, it was one that they would have been quite nervous for. But in the end, it was good racing, wasn't it, Francois?
Well, we would like all transition stages to be like that, with 9 former stage winners and 6 former yellow jersey holders in the break. And when you look at the finale, as you say, with with these guys up front, Sagan, Matthews, Van Avermaet, it looked like the finale of the World Championships, and in the end, I must say I'm very, very, very happy about Matthews. Bling, as I say, Bling's win. Well,
this is bullshit.
That's his nickname. I didn't make it up.
No,
but no, it's really because this guy is really a very, very promising rider. He's more than promising with everything he's won already. He's young. He's cute. He's a little bit like Sagan. He belongs to that category of riders that make cycling something different these days. And it's nice also to see Orica do well. Not that I have any Australian links, but last year they didn't perform because they crashed altogether in that dreadful crash on stage 3. And Matthews himself it was a long road for him on the Tour last year, because he had 4 broken ribs, and the year before, remember, in Leeds he was fresh out of the great Giro. I mean, everybody was thinking he's going to be the man in the sprints, and he crashed in training the day before the start in Leeds. So, for all these reasons, I think it's great news that Matthews won this. I
remember
race.
Orica, the team time trial last year. They were just struggling to finish the stage.
They were down to 6, weren't they, after losing so many riders in the first week, and that team time trial came on the second Sunday of the race, 9 days in, and they were in bits, weren't they? And Matthews pulled himself. He did what Michael Murku was trying to do, didn't he, last year? But and Matthews did say, he was starting to feel like the Tour de France wasn't the race for him. And what's interesting is that Matt White was talking at the finish about how they had this plan, how they are a team, and I know every team celebrates together. There's all the sort of the backslapping and the whooping when a stage win has been bagged, and they all meet up back at the bus, but there was a real sense that they pulled off a team victory, not just because 2 riders contributed so significantly to it, but bear in mind Michael Matthews is leaving Orica at the end of the season, and they put everything into helping him win a stage. And Matt White made the point that, look, we're a team. This is the team we've got now. We tried to win that stage. We win as a team. We lose as a team. And regardless of the fact that Michael Matthews is leaving the team, they were committed to working for him. And it kind of puts to bed a little bit, that perhaps there is a bit of disunity with
the only guy
Simon.
who wasn't happy was Simon Gerrans.
There was even strong rumours that actually Matthews was also leaving, because nobody could stand him in the team, and everybody was riding for Gerrans. So, and even at the World Championship last year, it was impossible for the Australians to decide who was the leader. And every time Gerrans and Matthews found themselves in the same race, they were their own worst enemies. So. In the end, it's also another relief for me. As a Matthews fan, to see that in the long end, they managed to stand together and you know, overcome their, as you say, their rifts to make sure that Matthews could win.
Well,
this.
let's talk a little bit more about Michael Matthews and his imminent move. But first, let's hear from Daryl Impey, who I spoke to the finish. He did an outstanding job for Matthews in those closing kilometres. You could see that he was really at his limit on the climb, but he had one job to do, or several jobs to do, because he kept attacking even when he was dead on his legs, and Sagan had to keep bringing him back. And that, in the end, those were probably the efforts that cost Sagan the stage win. So here's Daryl Impey at the finish. Daryl, great advantage for you to have two guys in the break there, but also a huge amount of pressure, I guess, especially on you.
Yeah, I think you know, a lot of teams had some guys had two teammates there, and I think really when the pressure went on there at the end, it was great that we had three guys. Then we kind of had to roll the dice. It would have been stupid if we had just taken control and just ridden for a sprint. So yeah, we had to put pressure on him, and we did that. So.
I mean, Sagan is so strong, though, isn't he? Even with the numerical advantage, you must have been worried about him.
Oh, sure. We were worried about him, Boasson Hagen. You know, even Greg Van Avermaet, we were worried he was going to do something at the end. But I think the pressure we put on and the way we rode it in the final was exactly how we wanted it to go.
Yeah, I grabbed a word at the finish with Matt Wilson, who is the other sports director for Orica-Bike Exchange, not Matt White. Matt White was in car number 1 and Matt Wilson's in car number 2. Just to explain what that means, when the brake goes, car number 2 typically goes up and follows the brake. So Matt Wilson was the sports director behind those 3 Orica-Bike Exchange riders in that lead group of 15, and this is what he said about how they pulled off their tactical coup against Peter Sagan. Matt, with 3 riders up there, did you have to have much input in the final stages
of the race today? Yeah. Look, it's just talking through the guys about a basic plan so everyone's on the same page. They're all racers there. They knew what to do.
And with the likes of Sagan and Van Avermaet, I mean, that wasn't a soft break to be in. Even with the numerical advantage, the pressure's on a bit. Oh,
big time. That was a very, very high-quality breakaway. There was no relaxing until we crossed the line.
And in terms of the tactics, it all seemed to play out perfectly. In retrospect, it looks like it was perfectly planned, but obviously at the time you don't know how those little moves are going to work out. But it went perfectly to plan.
No, you don't. You got to hope for the best. But when you've got a numerical advantage like that, you're always liable to play a few more games, you know.
And particularly, I mean, Luke Durbridge did his bit, Daryl Impey did his bit. Michael Matthews just had to keep cool and hope he had the speed in the legs and find his way through those little gaps as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right, yeah. Yeah.
Simple as that.
As simple as that, yeah. You nailed it, hit the nail on the head.
So that was Matty Wilson, as I think he is known. But Michael Matthews, again, just, you know, a great win for him. It's been a long time coming. He is a very exciting young Australian rider, and that makes it surprising, I think, that Orica are allowing him to go. It seems to have been a bit of a power struggle between him and Simon Gerrans. Simon Gerrans has obviously won major races, but he's not getting any younger. It's odd to allow this future Australian star to leave this Australian team. What was also quite interesting, you know, that hints at the maybe a bit of disharmony in the team, was Daryl Impey saying it hadn't been the best sort of opening week for them. And, you know, they've got the rider second overall as well, Adam Yates, who we've not mentioned at all. So a pretty strong opening week. But you wonder if behind the scenes there is this tension. And the source of that tension seems to be the relationship between Matthews and Simon Gerrans.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the case. I mean, I remember, from time to time, you know, you act like, so pseudo-naive journalists. And I remember last year on the Vuelta, I asked Simon Gerrans, who would be leading the team at the World Championship, I think it was even worse than that. I asked him if he would support Matthews in his quest for the world title, and Simon looked, you know, who's usually a very pretty, outgoing, nice chap. He looked at me with very stern face, and I realized I said something I shouldn't have said. So maybe one of the reasons, as you say, Simon Gerrans is getting a little bit older, but he's so important for that team. He almost embodies what this team represents. That, you know, is obviously. My impression is that even when he stops his career, he might continue with Orica, and so you don't part with a guy like that. And at the same time, as you say, they have Adam Yates, they have the 2 Yates brothers, who are, you know, the future of part of the future of cycling. They have Esteban Chavez, who is a guy who could, probably might have won the Giro and will probably win one of the Grand Tours. And they have Caleb Ewan, who is probably the most gifted sprinter, upcoming. So, with all this in mind, you realize that actually losing Matthews, if it was a problem for the team unity, is probably not such a bad thing.
I'm also very interested to see what Matthews does, because he's supposedly going to the team that is currently Giant Alpecin, will become Sunweb. They confirmed on the rest day that Sunweb are their new sponsor. I'm excited to see what he does there, because it's an excellent team for developing talent. We saw Tom Dumoulin win a couple of days ago. They've had John Degenkolb, Marcel Kittel has come through that team. Warren Barguil is there now. They do have a great record for developing talent, and it looks like it could be quite a good fit.
Yeah, I would have thought so. I mean, clearly there's no room perhaps for him at Orica-Bike Exchange. I mean, I just think back to the day Kittel won with the uphill finish that looked like made for Matthews or Gerrans, really, and they both were sort of up there, but neither of them were in a position to win, and that was kind of criminal, really. If you've got two riders of that calibre, you have to prioritise one over the other, and they are seemingly unable to do that. And Matthews looked absolutely dejected that day, just staring into the middle distance, and you could tell that he certainly wasn't happy with how things were developing in the Tour. And when you think about the size and the scale of Orica-Bike Exchange, one of the bigger budgets, to not win a Tour stage for 2 years, the pressure was mounting. They needed that victory today.
Final word on Orica-Bike Exchange. I went to Adam Yates' press conference on the rest day, a superbly awkward affair. There were a lot of journalists there to see the rider second overall in the Tour, and Adam Yates hasn't been in that position before. He's just so blunt. It's quite entertaining in a way. He I don't know how many times he said, "It is what it is. It is what it is. Tour is the Tour."
Yeah. Every 2 words he says
yeah. But he's just very unfazed, very relaxed. Not just journalists asking questions, him not giving them at all what they were looking for. He was asked, if he was in contact with his brother Simon, who of course isn't here because of a doping suspension that he's serving after inadvertent use of an inhaler that he should have had a TUE for. He said, "Yep, speak every night." And I said, "Well, do you miss him not being here?" "Nope." "Does it affect you in the race?" "Not at all." It was just, I said this, we did a Facebook Live thing last night with Kaylee Fretz. I said he's a more interesting rider to talk about than to talk to, and that's not meant as an insult. It's like still waters run deep with the two Yates brothers. They are fascinating characters, not for their eloquence, but more for where the determination, the grit comes from.
Well, yeah, I feel slightly better now about the interview I did with them at the end of last year.
It was really good, actually, and that they were very relaxed and very talkative there.
They were, because they were on their holidays. Really, they were back in the UK in Lancashire, near to home, and they opened up a bit more. They were relaxed, but I think
bounced off each other really, really nicely. That was a Friends of the Podcast special, little plug there,
which you can listen to if you want to pay $5 for all of last year's specials. Most of them are still relevant to listen to now, aren't they? On the cyclingpodcast.com. That's the commercial bit over. But no, they are fascinating riders and people, and I think they, as Francois says, we're going to be talking about them over the next 5, 6, 7 years at the Tour.
I actually saw Adam win his first. I won't even say major race, but when he won the Tour of Turkey, when Simon was pipped to win it, and he broke his knee.
Collarbone.
Collarbone was it? Yeah. And I remember we were on a nice, little Turkish seaside resort, and it was all very sunny, and we were making pictures of Adam, and I came to him and asked him, so how does it feel to be leading a tour like you do? And he said, it's okay, the only thing I don't like is the media. And I told him, well, you'll get used to it. And he said, who knows? And he went, And obviously, there's still a little bit of a reluctance for them to. Adam speaks French, because he rode in France, and he really, every time you ask him to speak French, I know he does, but he won't. He has to grow, I guess.
Very last word on Michael Matthews. I've never heard a rider dedicate a victory to his dog before, but Michael Matthews did do that. To be fair, his wife and his dog were the recipients of his gratitude for their support. He said
his wife will be delighted.
Well, his wife visited on the rest day apparently, and was trying to talk him up, bolster his confidence, tell him to keep plugging away, and a result will come. Not sure what do it for the dog. Not sure what Michael. The dog did. Maybe just looked at him with
Don't
big eyes.
Don't tell me the dog's called Bling, please.
No, Gigi.
Gigi, the dog.
Gigi.
Yeah.
Last time I heard a rider talk about his dog was Tyler Hamilton. You remember?
Cycling's got a very difficult history of riders and their dogs.
Yeah, they're usually the blood bags were named after their dogs, weren't they? That was back in the day. Not sure. I don't know what they name them after these days. No, just kidding.
Eurosport, the home of cycling.
And now, Pedaler de Charme.
Thank you very much to Eurosport for sponsoring us here, along with Rafa, and Eurosport sponsor Pedaler de Charme. A few nominations today for Mark Cavendish. Ironic, I think, after his altercation with a TV cameraman after he stopped to answer a call of nature and was filmed doing so, and then was also filmed being quite insulting, abusive towards the cameraman. Not his finest hour, perhaps. And he'll turn on his phone, won't he, and see all his Twitter notifications and think, oh, what's this all about then? And see that the video's gone viral.
I mean, the thing there is, there is really, for the TV director, there's an unwritten rule that you don't film when the riders are dropping off the back to go to the toilet. I mean,
the irony is that I don't think the incident itself was broadcast, but of course the subsequent exchange was. The TV cameraman might be there with his camera on. Doesn't mean that that's being broadcast. No. Directors choosing what. So that was probably unfortunate. We'll hear in a moment from Doug Ryder, his team manager, principal at Dimension Data. But Pedaler de Charme, and I posted some pictures from the finish here. We're just by the parking lot where the team buses were an hour or so ago. Tom Dumoulin, who was wearing the red numbers for most aggressive rider a couple of days ago, a stage that he won, although he won fantastically well. I did hear a few grumblings that he wasn't really pulling in the brake. Fine, you don't have to. That's bike racing. Anyway, when he stopped at the finish, there was a small kid came up to him and asked him if he could have his numbers, and so he pulled up his gilet and let the kid unpin his numbers and take them away. I posted nice pictures. I thought it was a nice gesture. There were a few cynics on Twitter who suggested that the kid might be off to sell them on eBay, which I just thought it was a nice moment, and that was disturbing. But anyway, Tom Dumoulin, he is today's Pedaler de Charme. We'll give him a T-shirt, and he'll be one of the. We don't want to give our T-shirt to Samuel Dumoulin by mistake because we've got extra small, but
they're easy to mistake, aren't they? And if you see the red numbers on eBay, do let us know.
Yeah, do let us know, yeah. So Tom Dumoulin, congratulations to him. Let's hear from Doug Ryder, who I spoke to at the finish. His rider, Edvald Boasson Hagen, was in the break. They had two in the break as well, with Steve Cummings there as well. Edvald Boasson Hagen rode well, finished third. And here is Doug Ryder. So Doug, we're just over a week into the Tour, but you must be enjoying the second experience of the Tour de France.
It's incredible. I mean, some people come to the Tour de France for years and don't win stages, and we've won 5 in our 2 years, and really special stages and with special people. So, it is amazing for us. We definitely have this X factor at the moment in this team, and the connectedness of the riders around the goals and objectives that we've set out to achieve, has been amazing. And so, they're just so committed to sticking to the plan, and they're exceptional bike riders, and then to deliver on it and to make it happen, even after you try to plan it, are two different things, right? So, we've just been very fortunate, and long may it last, actually.
Well, you've won such different types of stages. Edvald Boasson Hagen went close today on a stage that suited him, but you've won sprint stages. Steve Cummings has done what he does so well. How do you accommodate all these different types of talents and get them all to work together when they have to, but also to be able to fulfill their individual goals?
Well, that's unique about our team, is that we actually look at every single rider on the team. We first look at the course that we're wanting to, that we get presented with, like this year's Tour de France, and then we look at the riders that we think are going to do the best on those stages, and we break down every single stage to every single rider, and we actually focus a rider on every particular stage so that we can do something almost every day. We're not a team where all 9 riders race for one goal, and I think that's what makes us uniquely different. Last year in the Tour de France, we had 7 out of our 9 riders go top 10. There wasn't another team that had that, and I think that's what makes our team special, is that every single rider gets an opportunity. And when we stick to a plan, let's say it's Cavendish's day, everyone commits to that. And when it's Steve's day, and we've planned for that, then they all commit to Steve. And that's the nice thing about this team, is that they all commit onto the plan, and then everybody gets an opportunity to be successful. On top of that, racing for a purpose, racing for the fantastic Quebec charity, mobilizing students on bicycles across South Africa and Africa is something that is absolutely touches the riders deeply and makes them ride harder, because they know that their success is somebody else's. And I think that's what makes it really, really special. So it does drive them to greater success. It does make them work together better and become more of a united team. Because, like I said, they each have their own opportunities to do something, and then, of course, they work together to achieve the team goals as well.
Will Mark Cavendish, I know you've been asked this a lot, will he go to Paris?
Look, at the moment, yes. He's been struggling through the mountains, as you can see. He's been doing a lot of riding and training on the track, so he's not used to the heat. So he is struggling, and he struggled through the Pyrenees, and we're taking it day by day with him. And he's pretty positive, and he's got a good attitude and a good outlook for this race, and he knows how important the Champs-Élysées is and how to actually that stage built his career, really, and made him the special guy that he is. So I think it'll be tough for him not to go there, but we'll have to see how he goes through the Alps.
Mark can be spiky and very honest, and we saw an example of that today out on the road. Maybe it's not seen the footage, but he wasn't too pleased with being filmed while stopping to answer a call of nature. Is he like that in the team, or are there sort of two sides to him?
No, I mean, he's incredible in the team. He's a great mentor and a great profile for the African riders and for the rest of the riders in the team. But I think he does get a little bit angry when everybody's always on him, and sometimes he wants to be, just be a bit of a normal person, and when he's riding his bike, because that's where he's in his comfort zone. But I know when he's struggling on the back of the climbs, and everybody's all over him, and so. But if you're a high-profile guy, that's where it comes. You get that with it, I guess. But he's a super nice guy in the team, super, passionate, and and just a great role model in the team. So. We love him in the team, and but sometimes he seems to get a bit angry with people on the outside, but not normally fans. Normally just I guess some media and PR people. Sometimes, which it's a bit of his nature, I guess.
You are listening to the Cycling Podcast in association with Rafa. Whoever you are, wherever you ride, whatever the reason, Rafa exists to improve your ride with the finest kit, inspiring stories, and vibrant clubhouses and communities all over the world. See rafa.cc for more information.
Thank you very much indeed to Rafa for sponsoring us at the Tour de France. And I must mention again the series of features they're doing every day on the race, More Than a Race. If you go to rafa.cc, More Than a Race, or just hashtag More Than a Race, there's a little article, blog, illustration every day. Today's one is Heroes and Villains, and it's a little history of the race in the Pyrenees, actually. But there's something interesting on there every day. Scroll back and have a look at some of the other stuff that's on there, and lots more of interesting things to come.
Rich, you finished your podcasting beer. You must be thirsty.
Well, we've got a chateau to get to, haven't we, Lionel? We've booked dinner there tonight, and it's one of those nights where we're staying somewhere really nice. That's not Andorra, which is the main thing.
Brilliant.
We're quite pleased to put Andorra behind us. Francois, what's the French view of Andorra? Are you a fan?
Well, the thing is, when you live in Toulouse or places not too far from Andorra is the place to go because it's duty free. So you every weekend you've got cars, driving up all the way to Andorra to buy fags and whiskey and whatever. It's that's why you see lots of Frenchmen. They all speak French, and the main result, I guess, of the place is duty-free shops. It's all over the place. And the other resource for recent resource of the area is bike riders, because you had Purito Rodriguez, who announced his retirement during the rest day, who's lived there for a long time and trained there.
He owns a restaurant there, doesn't he?
Yeah. He has a Grand Fondo there. And now you have Dan Martin, who lives in Andorra as well and trains there. So it's a great place for them. It's like a little bit like Monaco, because it's tax-free. and you've got hills. So
yeah, we were talking about that, weren't we? We were taking a pretty dim view of anyone who lives in anywhere to avoid paying tax. We don't, especially bike riders who. I mean, Andorra's a bit bigger, but if you live in Monaco and you're a bike rider, you're training every day on French roads and not paying a penny towards those roads or services. I don't...
completely agree with you, Richard, but we agreed we wouldn't do any more politics.
It's not really politics, though, it's just...
No, moral.
Or
we don't do that either.
Okay, if you don't like my morals, I'll get new ones. So have we got any other business for today? It was a transitional stage. We're looking ahead to a sprinter stage and then Mont Ventoux.
Chilly weather forecast tomorrow. Well, chilly-ish, windy, and the forecast at the moment for Mont Ventoux are for very high winds. Now, still 2 days away. I don't get too sort of excited about weather forecasts because they can change, and Ventoux in particular, the weather can change on in the click of fingers. But it could be pretty challenging if it's windy and cold up there.
A reminder that Ventoux means windy,
Of course, and a reminder while we're doing reminders of the latest Friends of the Podcast special, an episode that I put together called Mont Ventoux, Heat, Wind and Fear. It's available now. It came out on Monday, I think, didn't it? And
let's hear a little clip from that, Lionel. Here's a little taster of our latest number 8, our 8th Friends special. You can become a friend for £10 at thecyclingpodcast.com. And here's a little clip from Mont Ventoux.
If you look at the environment on Mont Ventoux, that is a particularly inhospitable, nasty, brutal, very, very alien environment. It's very, very unlike anywhere that you or I would ride our bikes.
There's a Provençal proverb, which is one of the chapter titles of your book, which is you don't have to be mad to go to Mont Ventoux, but you have to be mad to go back.
Well, it's just a horrible, horrible, horrible place. I went up it on my bike when I was writing the book, and I don't want to go up there again. It was bloody awful. What would you do in the 60s? Well, you'd knock down as much speed as your system could take. You'd then top it up on the road with a bit of alcohol, and you'd hope for the best.
Become a friend of the podcast for 2016. All our Friends specials are now available on your mobile device. To sign up, visit www.thecyclingpodcast.com.
Unfortunately, received an email from a chap called James Welsh, whose music features in that episode. James Welsh makes music under the name Camera, and while I was making the episode, I was looking for other things that Mont Ventoux had inspired. So there's Bert Wagendorp's book, Ventoux, the novel. I heard of a stage play called Ventoux, which is about Marco Pantani and Lance Armstrong's duel on the mountain in 2000, and somebody tweeted... basically sort of drew my attention to a piece of music called Ventoux, and it was written and produced by James Welsh, as I say, called Camera, and it was inspired by him riding Mont Ventoux. I think it was 4 times a day for 5 days. Which
insane.
Absolutely insane. Anyway, unfortunately, earlier this week, I received an email from James to say that his plan to come down to Mont Ventoux and for us to meet up again is unfortunately not going to happen because his youngest son has been diagnosed with leukemia, and they're doing a bit of a fundraiser for children's cancer charities, and I will post on the Cycling Podcast Twitter feed a link if anyone wants to donate
and Facebook as well.
And Facebook to their... and obviously best wishes to James and his family.
Absolutely. His music is it's very haunting. He says the idea for the music came to him while riding Mont Ventoux, and it really fits very nicely into the episode, so best wishes to him. So we should really wrap things up there. A little reminder that every morning, Monday to Friday, we produce Kilometre Zero. Today's was on Zone Technique. It was really an interview with a very engaging Dutchman called Frank Jacobs, who's a lorry driver involved in assembling and dismantling the Zone Technique every day. He works for NBC.
Yeah, I have to say, I knew nothing about this one, Rich, because you went off and did this one on your own, and I found it fascinating. I mean, we take for granted this huge town that grows up every day on the Tour, all the trucks and the vehicles and the barriers and everything that gets put up, and as we stand here now, there's almost no sign that the Tour de France has been here in Revel, and it will all be moving on to Montpellier.
A reminder that on Monday, on the rest day, our Kilometre Zero was book club, and it was a chat about cyclists and reading with keen readers, Balcom Mollema, Chris Yule Jansen, Alex Howes, also Charlie Wigalius and Brian Holmer in there, Greg Henderson.
They're the only riders
Peter
who can read.
Stefaner.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Peter Stefaner was the other one.
I'm going to be in trouble today, aren't I?
Yes, no, yeah. And then tomorrow we have an interview with Paul Smith, fashion designer, talking about cycling and fashion. So that's all good. And then on Thursday it's a Bastille Day special, looking at some of the Frenchmen. And I spoke this afternoon to the last French winner on Bastille Day, David Moncoutier, 2005. Francois, we're going to have a French winner on Bastille Day this year, a Mont Ventoux.
Really?
Are we? I'm asking.
I don't know. Well, why not? I mean, Thibaut Pinot has lost all his hopes for the GC, so it'll be intriguing. He's in a strange position, this guy, because now he was supposed to be on a podium or something. He can I say up? No, I can't.
People know what you said when they get the little
badly.
bleep in there. He faltered badly.
Yeah, he did. And now he says, he has two main goals, and one is the stage win, and the other is the polka dot jersey. And he says the two goals are linked together. So where better can you both win a stage and do as much as you can to get points for the polka dot jersey than in the Ventoux. So yeah, if some guy, and for him, he would save his tour definitely. He won l'Alpe d'Huez last year. If he wins the Ventoux, he might end up being this French rider who never made it as a great Grand Tour winner. But winning the Ventoux and l'Alpe d'Huez at his at the age of 26 would be
not bad.
Nice. Yeah.
Not bad. Right, let's leave it there. Thank you very much, Lionel.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Francois.
Thank you.